situation is different. Buddhism introduced in Tibet at the time of the famous Tibetan king Srong Gampo. He was very much strong and powerful and important king during 7th century AD. It is a very interesting story that that is King Sronsang Gampo, married to a Nepali girl and also a Chinese girl at the same time. So it is said that when the groom from Nepal went to Tibet, he went with Buddha's idol uh, with her dowry. So when the king saw the idol of Buddha, he became very much faithful to the Buddha and became Buddhist. Then he sent some missionaries to India to learn Buddhism and come to Tibet to so much Buddhist literature so that Buddhism can be introduced in Tibet. And like that, so many Buddhist scholars came to India, not only India, but here in Nalanda, this university. And after getting knowledge of Mahayana Buddhism, this center was, that is Nalanda Mahavihar, was the conglomeration of Mahayana and Theravada Buddhism, both. And not only Buddhism, but also this place, this university was very much uh, famous for the study of science, that is astrology, astronomy, chemistry, Rasayan Vigyan. In earlier times it was called Rasayan. Nagarjun was famous Rasayan Vigyani. We can call him as chemist, but at that time he was very much famous for Rasayan Vigyan. So, and philosophy, of course, philosophical studies were there in this very university, and also medicine, Bhaisaj Shiksha. Medicinal education was also here very much prevalent. That is why the Tibetan medicine was developed from our Ayurvedic style of learning. On the basis of Ayurveda, the scholar of Tibet came to India, came to Ladakh, that is Nalanda Vishwavidyalaya, and learned medicine science mostly and Buddhist philosophy of Nalanda school of Buddhism. Later on, a special type of Buddhist school was developed here in Nalanda that was called Nalanda School of Thought. Now we can say Nalanda School of Buddhism, but it is also called sometimes Nalanda School of Thought. So it is very much close to Buddhism. So we can say Nalanda School of Buddhism. Why it is called, we will discuss later on. So during 7th century AD, Buddhism introduced in Tibet through Kashmir, because at that time there was no way just to move on foot. So the monks from Tibet either came on foot by the route of Nathula Pass, in Sikkim or by Changthang area of Ladakh. So that were the two main routes of entering into Indian side of places, Himalayan ranges. So the Dalai Lama also choose the same route of Nathula Pass in 1959. Nathula Darra. So Buddhism introduced in Tibet like that. But now question comes, why Buddhism introduced China in 1st century and not through Tibet? Because during 1st century AD, it is said that the people of Tibet were follower of a strong faith of animism, that is shamanism. You can say the follower of nature worship. So many nature worship of mountain, worship of river, worship of trees, worship of La, that is the peak of the mountains. In Tibetan, it is called La. La means peak of mountain. You can also call it as pass, 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 Darra. But in Tibetan, it is called La. So today also, so many people you will find in Ladakh and Tibet who worship certain mountain peaks today because of not only the spiritual bent of mind, but also when we go to certain monasteries, certain mountains, then we feel that we are very small to nature. Nature is beyond our imagination. Nature is greater than me and all our species. So, to give respect to mountains, they worship mountain peaks today also. So, that is why when Santarakshit, a Buddhist monk from Vikramshila University of Bhagalpur area in Bihar, and also Atish Dipankar, he was also a famous Buddhist scholar from the same university, that is Vikramshila University, went to Tibet. Not went, but they were invited by the Tibetan kings, and when they reached to Tibet, they tried to spread Buddhism or Buddhist philosophy or Buddhist teachings to the people of Tibet. But there were so many problems because the people of Tibet at that time did not want to learn Buddhism, Buddhist teaching, because they have strong faith in those things which was told by earlier, that they have strong faith in natural things. So they did not want to even learn about the teachings of the Buddha. And they have so many obstacles to preach Buddhism in Tibet. But at the same time, in 8th century AD, Acharya Padmasambhav of India went there in Tibet, and he was not only a Buddhist scholar, but also he was a Siddha, miraculous person. If someone wants to give him any problem or trouble, then he also knew that how to tackle them. So after giving so much miraculous power, they try to control all these people who wanted to obstruct him to spread Buddhist teaching in Tibet. And later on, the obstacle deities, deities,
Yes.
Deities,
It is God.
Devi Devtas, Buddhist, not Buddhist, but born deities. Earlier, faith of Tibet was born faith or born religion, B-O-N, born. So the follower of Bon at that time
Avatar.
tried to obstruct Acharya Padmasambhav to spread Buddhist teaching among the Tibetan people. Then Acharya Padmasambhav tried to control all these people by showing his special power, miraculous power, and all the obstructing deities were converted into Buddhist deities. And he told the people that don't worry, I will not harm you. Buddhist teaching will not harm you at all, but will help you in your life, in your career, in your future course of action. So the obstructing deities, born obstructing deities, were converted into Buddhist uh, protectors, as protectors. You see, Ist Devata in Hindi or Sanskrit, Ist Dev. Ist Dev is protecting deities. So all those deities were converted into protective deities, and not only spread the teachings of the Buddha, but also he uh, constructed the first Buddhist monastery, that is Samye Monastery. In Tibetan, it is called Samye, but when you write, it will be written as Samyas in Tibetan. Samye Monastery. So that monastery is still there in Tibet, and later on the same monastery was developed in so many areas. So the Santarakshit, Deepankar Sri Gyan, and Acharya Padmasambhav were the trio. It was called the trio. Three people were instrumental into introduction of Buddhism into Tibet in 7th to 8th century AD. And after that, no looking back. Now the Tibetan people have a strong faith in Buddhism at this moment also. Of course, the spiritual guru or the political head of Tibet is not in Tibet at this moment. Dalai Lama is here in India as a refugee guest. He is certainly a guest, a political head, but in a refugee status. So, and the monasteries of Tibet were destroyed by the Chinese army. Books were burnt. The Buddhist, the images of the Buddha and the Buddhist deities were destroyed. Everything is destructed in Tibet. but still the people of Tibet has strong faith in Buddhism, and um, in hiding shape they were coming to India in every year to see the Dalai Lama and also the Buddhist places in India like Nalanda, Bodh Gaya, Rajgir, Sarnath, Kushinagar. They visited every year, not taking the passport but hiding themselves, not properly because they were not allowed to enter into India officially. So this is the position of Buddhism in Tibet nowadays. But in China, the situation is quite different. In China, which when Buddhism introduced in first century AD, later on that Buddhism was developed in several forms of schools like Tendai Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, uh, mm, uh, Madhyamik Buddhism, Yogachar Buddhism, so many fold of Buddhism, Buddhist sects or schools were developed in China, and Buddhism is a foremost religion in China today also. It is said that most of the people of China follow Buddhism. Only the political people or the families, not family, but the employees of Chinese government are not showing that they are the follower of Buddhism, but in their minds they are very much Buddhists today also. Openly, they do not say that they are Buddhist, but it is said that they are very much Buddhist. You will find so many Buddhist giant statues in China, so many places, and Buddhist monasteries, and so many Buddhist monks and nuns in China today itself. This is the social picture of China, not political picture. Political picture is different from the social picture.
Yes.
So the people of China is considered as a very much lenient and mm, faithful towards Indian people. But the government is not so convenient. They are fighting each other in different spheres of life, but the people are very much eager to see India, visit India, meet the people of each other countries. So this is the social picture of China. So China is considered as a prominent religion in Buddhism is the prominent religion in China, not the Islam or Christianity or Hinduism. Only Buddhism is considered as a prominent. Still, we find some parts of Chinese territory is also following Christianity, Islam. Islam is basically which part? The Wuhan, yes, yes. Xinjiang, and yeah. So at these places, the Islam follower of Islam is very much prevalent, but they are also not in a good condition. So this is the picture of China. But now I was talking about Buddhism in Tibet earlier. So Buddhism introduced in Tibet in 7th century AD, but later on in course of time, the Buddhist schools were developed there. Mostly four Buddhist schools. Earliest one was Nyingma. Nyingma Buddhism was introduced or established by Acharya Padmasambhav. He was the founder. So you will find today itself in Sikkim there are so many monasteries of Nyingma school of Buddhism. But in Tibet also we will find so many Buddhist temples and followers of Nyingma. And after that, another Buddhist school was developed that was called Kargyutpa. But later, Kargyutpa schools were also divided into 8 sects, subsects. But mainly 2 subsects were very much prominent. They were Digungpa Kargyut and Dukpa Kargyut. These 2 subsects were the sect of Kargyutpa. So Nyingma, Kargyutpa, and third one is Sakyapa. Sakyapa or Saskyapa, whatever you call. So Sakya, you know Sakya Pandit. Just like we have Panchtantra, you know Panchtantra. So there are so many slokas very much prevalent. Likewise, there is a book in Tibet very much famous that is called Sakya Sakya is conjoined with someone more word. Sakya lecture, yes. Sakya lecture, written by Sakya Pandit, Padma Gelson. So he was Pandit. You know, Pandit word is used in India only. Yes. Especially in Sanskrit. By to whom? Who is great learner, scholar, Pandit, but in Tibet also. Yes, erudite scholar, Pandit. So in Tibet also, the same Sakya Pandit was considered as a great scholar. So he was the Sakya sect follower. And the last one is Gelugpa. So Gelugpa sect is considered as the most reformed sect of Buddhism. So these 4 sects were developed in Tibet, and the follower of the same 4 sects you will find in Indian part of Himalayan region, like Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, Darjeeling, Kalimpong, Sikkim, and Arunachal Pradesh. But in Tripura, just we already told you that in Tripura, a small area adjacent to Burma are following Theravada Buddhism because of Burma. Because Theravada Buddhism very much prevalent in Burma, that is why those area adjacent to Burma of Tripura are following Theravada Buddhism. So this is the picture of Buddhism in Tibet. But later on, when China captured Tibet in 1959, the situation went wrong and very much different. Not only the Dalai Lama came to India, but also with the Dalai Lama, it is said that more than uh, 60,000 people came to India with him, because the people who were strong faith in Dalai Lama did not want to stay without him in Tibet. So they came to India with him and spread in India, Ladakh, Arunachal Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Chandigarh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, southern state like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, New Delhi, and several places. And they have mostly traders. They are traders. They have trade business of warm clothes, especially in winter season. You will find everywhere.
In Patna also, sir.
Patna,
Lhasa market.
everywhere you will find. So they are having their own livelihood in terms of trade business, and also they have some land also in Madhya Pradesh and Ladakh. They are also using their lands for their livelihood to grow crops, but mainly on trade and business. They are living here. So now the Buddhist people of Tibet are captured by Chinese army and forcibly tried to convert them into their own faith. So somehow we will find that most of, but some people of Tibetans are uh, very much loyal to Chinese army, Chinese government now, and they do not want to even name the Dalai Lama openly because of the fear of Chinese army. So this is this condition of Buddhism in Tibet at the moment. But in India, there is no problem. Everywhere we will find, just like not only in Himalayan region, we will also find Buddhism in Maharashtra, mostly in Maharashtra, but they are termed as Navabaudh, Neo-Buddhist, quite different. You see, they are mostly Buddhist because of the B.R. Ambedkar, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was very much erudite scholar, the instrumental of making Indian constitution, very much economist, and he followed Buddhism at his last age. So the people from Maharashtra area and some parts of Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh are also following B.R. Ambedkar. So they have great faith in Buddhism, not Buddhism, but Ambedkar. That is why they call Jai Bhim. So sometimes they also call one Yan, that is Bhimyan. Hinayan, Mahayan, and Bhimyan. I do not know how it is correct or not. I am not trying to go into this. But after all, they are following Buddhism, and they have constructed so many monasteries in Maharashtra, but already we have Buddhist monasteries in earlier times. We are just searching out everywhere in North India and also in South India, but still they are following, they are open to follow any religion in India. They have freedom to follow any religion, whatever you follow, there will be no problem. So this is somehow uh, correct situation of Buddhism in Himalayan region. As far as Buddhism in Arunachal Pradesh is concerned, I have already talked in my earlier talk that there were more than 200 tribes in Arunachal Pradesh. So mostly they are following Doni and Polo, you know, Surya and Chandra, sun and moon. They have follow their own faith, tribal faith, where the position of moon and sun is prominent, and there are so many temples of Doni Polo in Arunachal Pradesh. But 13% of the population is Buddhist at this moment, or mostly Tawang area and West Kameng area, which is adjacent to Tibet. So they are following Mahayana Buddhism, not Theravada Buddhism. So in Arunachal Pradesh also, there are so many Buddhist monasteries. You see, Tawang Monastery is the biggest monastery in India. And also, this monastery, not, Tawang is the area where the 5th Dalai Lama was born. This Dalai Lama is 14th Dalai Lama. So 5th Dalai Lama was very much popular and prominent in the series of Dalai Lamas. So he was born in Tawang area of Arunachal Pradesh. That is why Tawang Monastery is considered a very holy monastery, very prominent monastery in India. It is also very big monastery, Tawang Monastery. And Tawang area is mostly the same area of Tibet and Ladakh. Lower part of Arunachal Pradesh you will find greeneries and some plain area, but upper part of Arunachal Pradesh is the same like Tibet or Ladakh, without greenery, big mountains. So lack of humidity, abundance of cold, lack of not only vegetation but lack of population also. Area is big, population is small in Arunachal Pradesh, just like in Tibet and Ladakh. So this is Arunachal Pradesh. Now come to Darjeeling and Kalimpong area. Darjeeling and Kalimpong area of West Bengal is very much strong position of Mahayana Buddhism. Again, there are several Buddhist monasteries of Mahayana Buddhism you will find in Darjeeling and Kalimpong area. You see, the people of Darjeeling are very much close to Tibet and Nepal. So the people of Darjeeling area speak Nepali, mostly Nepali, and also sometimes Tibetan, but very less Bengali, which is still in Bengal, but the people mostly speak Nepali first, then Tibetan, and third one is Bangla. Bangla and Hindi the same. So they understand Hindi, they understand Bangla, but speak Nepali and Tibetan. Most of the people of that area have double citizenship. You see, they have matrimonial relations with Tibetan people. Father is Tibetan, mother is Bengali. That is Darjeeling area. Father is Bengali area, mother is Tibetan. So they are mixed population. That is why they have different type of language and different type of customs also. One most I was talking about Nyingmapa sect. Very famous monastery of Nyingmapa sect you will find in Darjeeling. Also, Dukpa monastery of Dukpa Karyud sect of Tibetan Buddhism. So, Himalayan region mostly we have already discussed. You will find Mahayana Buddhism or Tibetan Buddhism, you can call it mostly, because they have close relation with Tibet at any point of time, with their lifestyle, with their language, with their customs, and of course with their religion. That is why they are following Tibetan Buddhism of Mahayana fold. So, but in plain area of India, the situation is changed. They are following mostly Theravada Buddhism. Barring Karnataka, some monasteries are, Tibetan monasteries are in Karnataka, some Tamil Nadu, of course in some Hyderabad area of Andhra Pradesh. So they have a strong faith of Tibetan Buddhism, but people are not following Tibetan Buddhism of that area. Only the monks and nuns who were staying in those monasteries, they are following Tibetan Buddhism. So I think we have discussed so many things about Buddhism in Himalayan region. I just want to give you some data. According to 2001 census reports, 1.1%, that is 1.13 lakhs population follow Buddhism in Jammu Kashmir. 1.2% in Himachal Pradesh, 28.1% in Sikkim, that is most of the people, 13%, as I said earlier, in Arunachal Pradesh, 0.1%, 0.1% in Uttarakhand. Ladakh is 1/3 of J&K, but they follow more than 80%. People are Buddhist. According to Ministry of Home Affairs Annual Report 2008 and 9, Population of Tibetan refugee in India is 1,10,095. According to 2000 Chinese census report, 2.50 lakhs Tibetans are residing in China. You see, what is the position of Tibetan people in China today?
Sir, what did you say? Please repeat that. Tibetan population in India.
2.41 lakhs in China and 2.41 lakhs area in Tibetan Autonomous Region, which is called TAR, adjacent to India. The area is called Tibetan Autonomous Region, TAR, where only 2.41% Tibetans are living today, where 100% people are living at any point of time. Now it is only 2.41%. It means most of the population are converted into Chinese now. That is why they are counted as Chinese, not Tibetan. So this is the position. According to Exile Tibetan website, there are 6.1 million Tibetan worldwide. 6.1 million across the globe, Tibetan people, which includes 20,000 in Nepal, 1,500 in Bhutan, 3,500 in USA and Canada, and 2,000 in Switzerland. These are the Exile Tibetan website report. Nepal has 11% population of Buddhists, 11% only. And they are mostly Gurung, Tamang, Sherpas and Bhots. These are the Tibetan people. They follow Tibetan, Gurung, Tamang, Sherpas and Bhots. They are residing in upper part of Nepal adjacent to Tibet. That is why they are following Buddhism. But lower part of Nepal, mostly Hindus. Very little population is Mohammedan in Nepal. So this is the data.
Sir,
Yes.
this China occupied Tibet and Tibetan autonomous region are different.
Yes.
So
Quite
please,
different.
please elaborate it.
You
Which
see.
areas come under?
Yes. Tibetan Autonomous Region, when Dalai Lama shifted to India, they have the people of Tibet are afraid at that time that what will be the fate of Tibetan people without the head of Tibetan political figure, that is Dalai Lama. So there are resentment against the Chinese army at that time. So to suppress the Chinese Tibetan feelings, they have met situation when the people of China and people of Tibet met together and area was demarcated, that these area where the Tibetan population were residing at that time. You see why China is different from TAR, because the Tibetans of China region were not flown to India at the time of Dalai Lama. So they remained there. But the people of this region, that is called Tibetan Autonomous Region, they have some autonomy. The China government gave these people, these area, some autonomy, not most autonomy, because they have given to form their local government, like municipality or nagarpalika or panchayat or something like that, to run their own business at their own level. But there is a situation is so different that when the situation came that a treaty between Tibetan people and Chinese finalized, but the Tibetan people were not considered that they are following or they have faith in Dalai Lama. They have faith in Chinese government till today. That is why they have been given the autonomous power. You govern that very area, but you are very much loyal to Chinese government, not to Tibetan government or the Dalai Lama. So, just to suppress the agony or the feelings of Tibetan people, they have made Tibetan autonomous regions. But the Tibetan government is not allowed or the given permission to form such type of Tibetan autonomous region. So this is the situation of Tar now. So uh, in Himalayan region, not only Buddhist monasteries were developed, but also Buddhist institutions were also developed. When we talk about Ladakh, there is an institution, Central Institute of Buddhist Studies, that is deemed university now, established in 1959, CIBS in short form, where the education from the class of 1 to PhD, quite different type of institution, class 1 to PhD education is given, because there are 50 monastic schools run by CIBS. These monastic schools are spread over whole Ladakh in the monasteries, and on those monasteries only monk students are studying. So they are coming to CIBS for higher study. So they have 3 secondary level branches also. One in Janskar, second one is in Himachal Pradesh, and third one in Ladakh itself. So from these 3 secondary schools, a student came to Central Institute of Buddhist Studies for higher study, that is in 12 to BA, MA and PhD. This is the situation in Ladakh. When you go to Sikkim, there are 2 to 3 educational institutions run by Ministry of Culture, educational institutions, where education, research and publication is very much arranged, and prominent institution is Namgyal Institute of Tibetology. in Sikkim, Namgyal Institute of Tibetology, where large number of students from that very area took education in Buddhism and also Tibetan language and literature. And there is a very much publication of Tibetan texts, Tibetan Buddhist texts, publication of Tibetan Buddhist texts, very rich collection of Tibetan Buddhist literature in Namgyal Institute of Tibetology. Then in Darjeeling there is another institute. In Arunachal Pradesh there is an institution named Central Institute of Himalayan Buddhist Culture in Dahung in Arunachal Pradesh. There is also institute named Central Institute of Tibetan Higher Studies in Sarnath, Varanasi. This is also a deemed university. So all these universities or institutions, educational institutions, are meant for Buddhist education of Himalayan people. So not only Buddhist monastery, but Buddhist educational institution, publications, museums are also established in these areas just to promote and conserve the Buddhist treasures of India. So, have you any question?
सर बहुत सारा परमिशन आपसे मांग रहे हैं अलाउ करने के लिए काफी देर से.
They are students of?
Yes sir, they are students and they are latecomers, so they are waiting for your joining in.
Yes. हाँ बताइए. न्यू बुद्धिस्ट. क्या बताऊं?
सर इसके बारे में मतलब ये आप बता रहे थे ना कि हाँ महाराष्ट्र में जो है न्यू बुद्धिस्ट बोले जाते हैं जैसे कि जय भीम.
न्यू बुद्धिस्ट कहते हैं नव बौद्ध. हिंदी में उसको नव बौद्ध कहते हैं. नव बौद्ध से मतलब है कि नया बौद्ध. इसका मतलब पहले वो बौद्ध नहीं था. इससे क्लियर होता है कि they were not Buddhist earlier. They were following some other religious faith, but now they follow Buddhism. That is why they are called Neo-Buddhist और नव बौद्ध. अब ये हमारी स्वतंत्रता है कि हम अपने चॉइस के हिसाब से, अपने अभिरुचि के अनुसार से हम किसी भी धर्म को फॉलो करें. तो बहुत सारे भारत में ऐसे लोग हैं जो B.R. अम्बेडकर की विद्वता को लेकर के, उनके ज्ञान से प्रभावित होकर के उनके अनुयायी बन गए. और वो अनुयायी बन गए तो उसके फेथ क्या हो सकते हैं? तो फेथ वही हो सकते हैं जो उन्होंने खुद अनुसरण करते थे. तो अर्लियर क्या अनुसरण करते थे ये नहीं मालूम. संभवतः वो हिंदू धर्म को मानते होंगे, लेकिन अंत समय में उन्होंने बौद्ध धर्म को स्वीकार कर लिया था. नागपुर में अकेले नहीं, बहुत सारे समर्थकों के साथ उन्होंने बौद्ध धर्म को स्वीकार कर लिया था. तो उनसे प्रेरित होकर के जो लोग हैं, उनके अनुयायी जो हैं, उन्होंने भी बौद्ध धर्म को स्वीकार कर लिया. क्योंकि उनके जो गुरु या उनके प्रेरक यदि किसी धर्म से प्रेरित होकर के उस धर्म को अपना लिया तो उनके अनुयायी भी उसी धर्म को अपनाने को मान लिया कि हमें भी वही धर्म को मानना चाहिए। तो ये एक कारण था। और जो आप कहना चाहती हैं वो मैं समझ रहा हूँ। वास्तव में क्या था कि हमारे देश में बहुत सारी सामाजिक विसंगतियां रही हैं। माफ करेंगे, मैं हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ। ये सामाजिक विसंगतियां रही हैं। हमारे यहाँ ऊंच नीच, छुआछूत, वर्ग भेद, जाति प्रथा, ये सब कुरीतियां, अंधविश्वास हमारे समाज में रही हैं। तो इसके वजह से कुछ वर्ग शोषित, कुछ वर्ग प्रताड़ित महसूस करता रहा है। ऐसे वर्ग में से ही B.R. अम्बेडकर भी आते थे और उन्होंने अपनी विद्वता, अपने ज्ञान और संघर्ष के बल पर एक बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि हासिल की थी। और उनको उपलब्धि हासिल करने में बहुत लोगों का योगदान था और उनको वे स्वीकार भी करते थे। और वो जहां कहीं भी जाते थे तो अपने धर्म को लेकर के या बाकी चीजों की चर्चा नहीं करते थे, केवल ज्ञान की चर्चा करते थे। लेकिन उनके जो अनुयायी हुए, उन्होंने समझा कि ये जो हमारे जो प्रेरक डॉक्टर बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर हैं, वो जिस धर्म को उन्होंने अपनाया है, हमें भी उस धर्म को अपनाना चाहिए। कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि हमारे गुरु या हमारे श्रेष्ठ के से हम इतने प्रेरित हो जाते हैं कि वो जो जो काम करते हैं उन काम को अपने आप में समाहित कर लेना चाहते हैं, अनुकरण कर लेते हैं। तो हाँ, ये बात सही है कि उनके धर्म को तो अनुसरण कर लिया, लेकिन उनका ज्ञान कितना बड़ा था, सोच कितनी बड़ी थी, उनका भारत के ज्ञान विज्ञान में, संविधान में, राजनीति में, अर्थशास्त्र में क्या योगदान था, उस बात को हम फॉलो नहीं कर पाए। ये भी एक विसंगति है। तो हमें उन सभी चीजों को फॉलो करने की कोशिश करनी चाहिए जिससे हम प्रेरित होते हैं। I don't think you are understanding what I'm saying. Whenever I follow any great personality, so how we follow? Follow because they are great by his deeds, by his scholastic brain of mind, by his contribution towards the society or the country. They are very much learned person. They are very much kind to poor people. So these are the conditions when we follow any personality. So when we follow any personality, any one person as a guru or a teacher or a preacher, then we follow all these things of that very personality. So likewise we follow that person and we are the follower of B.R. Ambedkar. And not only B.R. Ambedkar, but B.R. Ambedkar was a follower of Buddhism. That is why also I follow Buddhism. So now I became Buddhist. So this is the condition of neo-Buddhists, now both. But they are trying to follow the path of the great personalities. It is good or bad. Everyone should follow the path of our preachers, our gurus, our trendsetters. So it is very good. संभवतः आपको समझ में आया होगा। जी।
Yes, first of all, I want to say thanks for you giving a lecture. We have a lot of knowledge for you teaching. But I want to know about, yes, I want to know about Jammu Kashmir. You already mentioned in Buddhism, two schools of Buddhism, Theravada and Mahayana. I want to know Jammu Kashmir Buddhists are Theravada or Mahayana.
Oh, Oh, I'm sorry. I have already discussed that the follower of Jammu Kashmir or the people of Jammu Kashmir, especially the people of Ladakh, follow Mahayana Buddhism. But not only Mahayana Buddhism, but also Tibetan Buddhism. Now it is called Tibetan Buddhism because the faith which were prevalent in Ladakh is controlled or governed by Tibetan Buddhism. Because I have already talked about 4 Tibetan Buddhist sects. So the people of Ladakh are following all the 4 Tibetan Buddhist sects. Nyingma Pas, if they follow the Nyingma sect, they are called Nyingma Pas. If they follow Kargyud sect, they are called Kargyud Pas. And some people are also following Sakya sect and they are called Sakyapa. And mostly the people of Ladakh follow Geluk sect, so they are called Gelukpas. So certainly these 4 sects are Mahayana sect, but also it is called Tibetan sect.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your answer, sir. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Yes. Good afternoon, Sirji.
Oh,
Good afternoon, Sirji.
good afternoon.
Thank you so much for your informative teaching today here.
Okay.
I would like to ask one question to you. You said that the introduction of Buddhism to China took place in 1st century, right?
Hmm.
And then the introduction of Buddhism to Tibet took place in 7th century.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then these days China keep on saying that Tibet is politically inseparable part of China. But Tibetan people that time didn't take help from China to spread Buddhism in Tibet, but they took help from India
Yes.
to spread Buddhism in Tibet, right?
Correct.
So why didn't Tibetan beg to China to spread Buddhism in Tibet?
Because China have no any Tibetan preacher at that time. They are also following the same Buddhism spread by Indian Buddhist scholar. At that time they did not have any Buddhist preacher at that time. So how it is possible? That is why they tried to take help from Indian Buddhist scholars and not Chinese Buddhist scholar. Because at that time they are also the students. The people of China were the students of Indian teachers. And the people of Tibet were also wanting to be a student of Buddhist teacher of India. That is why the people of Tibet took help from Indian Buddhist scholar to spread Buddhism in Tibet.
Okay, thank you, sir. Hello.
Yes,
Good afternoon, sir.
good afternoon.
Sir, before the establishment of Buddhism in Tibet, sir, could you please tell me about the tribe, basically about the Bon religion? How many tribes were there in the Tibet region, sir?
How many tribes were following Bon religion? It is I am not able to tell you at this moment, but most of the population of Tibet at that time, if I am telling you most, you can also imagine all. So most of the people of Tibet were following Bon religion because we find so many Bon related monuments in Tibet. Still we find.
So,
And you
sir, I'm sorry, sir, but there are
Yes, maybe. Maybe. You see, the same religion also followed some parts, some people of Ladakh also at that time. And some bone monuments are also there in Ladakh. You will find one bone monastery is also there in Ladakh. Bone follower only 6 or 7, but there is a bone monastery in Ladakh still for only 7 Buddhist follower. 7 बुद्धिस्ट फॉलोअर हैं, उसके लिए एक 7 मोन के फॉलोअर आज हैं, उनके लिए एक बोन का मोनेस्ट्री है आज भी.
Ladakh में sir.
Yes,
Thank you sir.
I think now it is okay. So thank you so much for your great cooperation and help. Thank you.